And we are live once again with the Business Not As Usual podcast. One host, that's me, Vince, and with me, the other host, the other guy.
That's me, Mike, the other guy, like the movie, the other guys.
Yeah, that's a solid movie. We're gonna do today's episode in monotone voice, because what's life without whimsy? All right. So what's going on there, Michael?
So I've been thinking, we've been doing a lot of work around your team and distributed teams, and we had some good conversations over the past week with some great guests.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep talking about this team, the team. But who is the team, Vince? Who are the people that you? And I'm not talking like I like Johnny. Like,
right.
Who are the people on your team? What roles do they play?
Right.
And how do they connect together if you have these roles or these people that you're looking for?
And I think
I've been thinking about.
Yeah, no, I've sort of been thinking the same thing, and because what a lot of organizations do is they'll put together a team of individuals and just sort of expect them to coalesce and deliver. And this is a problem because you have to have different, like you are not going to win the World Cup with 11 strikers. Like you're not going to.
That's right.
Right? Everybody has a role. And so we're talking about more at the macro of not, you need a process person, you need a requirements person, you need a digital person. But we're talking about like what are the personalities?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
What are the personalities that you need on your team to be successful?
Right.
So I mean, let's remove the veil a little bit. We individually made a list of 5 personalities that you need on your team, and we had one crossover. So this might, depending on time, this might turn into a 2-parter, but let's see, because that means we're going to be talking about 9 different roles.
It could be, right. This one could be Vince's list. And
it could be.
The next one will be Mike's list. Because I think we're not just going to like gloss over them. We want to dig into it. So we may just make this a 2-parter.
Right. Yeah. You need a steamroller. And next you need a we're actually gonna talk about it. So
you need a gladiator.
Why don't you need a gladiator? That's a good one. So why don't we start with the one that we both had as our number 1?
Yeah, and actually before we start, because we did talk about when you're in a transformation, you don't just get, oh, that guy is this or that woman is this. They're in the program. Mm-hmm. It's before you even get to identifying who's in the transformation, who's part of the transformation, who's part of that big project. This is like even a step back from that to say, here's what we're looking for. Does anybody in your organization fit this, or do a bunch of people and which one fits this role?
Right.
So this is what we're saying when we're talking about the personality of the team or the roles you need on the team. Before you even go to job descriptions, you got to think about this first and then start looking for those people. So we're going to start with our first one.
Yeah. And just again, let's so outside of this conversation, because we're going to be talking about people in a transformation program. When I am trying to build a team of, say, enterprise analysts, and I use this word and I seriously say this to executives, I'm looking for assassins. Because an assassin is someone who can work in the shadows and be very, very effective, right? So that's the type of assassin is not on either of our lists, but that's the type of role that we're looking for. So our shared one, and I would argue every organization, regardless of whether you're going through a transformation or not, needs a rebel.
Yes.
You need Business needs more rebels. We need more people that eschew the status quo and push us to be better.
And so when you say the rebel, what does that is that different than, I know there's a lot of the challenger. Is that different than a challenger?
Well, I mean, so a challenger to me is like the devil's advocate.
Yes.
The challenger takes whatever you say and plays the other side.
So like the opposition party.
The opposition party.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about a rebel, what I really am referring to is someone who does not accept things as status quo. So they're the person who, and again, I'm going to come at this from a process space, so like bear with me, sees the way that we do work and says, I think we can do that better. I think we should challenge how we do. So I guess challenger is not the right thing, but they say, I think we can do that differently. Why do we do it that way? Can't we do it better, different, cheaper, faster? They push, and this is where a lot of organizations don't like rebels, because the rebels point out problems, right? And the reason they do it is that they want to help fix the problem. Speaking from experience, they want to help. They see a better way, and they want to, and they are not satisfied with that's the way we've always done it.
So it's funny that when things are moving well in a good economy or pre-pandemic, the rebel is the one that no one wants to invite to a meeting because they question everything. It's like it's uncomfortable to have them in the meeting. During the current situation with COVID, the rebels are the ones that everybody's inviting to the meetings now, because they're the ones that are saying, well, first of all, I should have listened to them in the first place. But now, in this time where you can't do business as usual, you're looking for that person that has that different take and a take on how you can get there quicker. And so the rebel is now the one that everybody's like, oh, we need to invite that person because they have a different perspective. Right. And so it's funny how, when times are good, everybody just wants to keep, no one wants to rock the boat. And so the rebel is not the one that really no one wants to invite because it's too uncomfortable.
Right. But there's
absolutely
value.
Necessary for a transformation. If you want to transform and you don't have a rebel, you're not really transforming, because you're just going to have people that are just, the way we do it is good. That's not a transformation.
Well, and I would say, in all business, whether in a transformation or not, you want to have this type of person, because at the very least they provide a sanity check.
Right.
So they push you to answer questions that really force you to think through, why you act a certain way and why you do things a certain way. And if you can, like a really good rebel will recognize when, okay, you know what, you've maybe you haven't convinced me, but like, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I'm good. Like let's go.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, rebels want to solve problems.
Yeah.
But they will force you to ask questions. And sometimes in that asking, it forces you to refine the way you do things to be a little bit different, to really innovate from a process perspective. So
right.
Especially as part of a transformation, you have to have this person, because transformation by its very definition is a departure from how you are currently doing business.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. So we both agree, rebel on the list.
Yeah. Get like 3 or 4
on the list
in case. On the list, rebel.
In case.
Get 3 or 4
for back pocket.
Just for back pocket.
Yeah.
But like, because then you may end up with like the rebels fighting in amongst themselves, and like the gold that will come out of that, I guarantee will be valuable, because they will push each other to really be that sanity check on each other. So,
all right. So who's your number 2?
Yeah, and so the rest were sort of in no particular order, but the second name that I wrote down was the visionary.
Right.
You need to have a person or several people that are able to envision the future state and then assist with developing a plan to get there. So they see what the future looks like. And we sort of talked about this when we had Lori Silverman, right? They are the ones that see into the future and then help us develop a path to get there.
Right.
Right.
I think absolutely agree with the visionary. I think the vision, and it's probably not on your list. It's not on my list. I just thought of it. The visionary needs, if you're visionary, we'll take it out. If the visionary is like your running back, you need a fullback to run interference.
Yes.
And here's what I mean by that. Visionaries cut it, and it's actually work to be a visionary because you don't just sit down. It's like a process, and they scribble stuff in their book, and it may take like 2 or 3 weeks to get to somewhere, but they take nothing. They turn something out of nothing, and they come and they say, this is what I think it should happen. And what's the very next thing that happens? The detailed people go, well, how's that going to work? Asking a visionary who took something that's taken like in the shower and goes, oh, I have an idea, I wrote it down. And then they're on a walk and they write it down and they formulate like this very overarching vision that brings you somewhere. To ask that person then to go, but what about this thing in the middle? How would you do that? No. That's why this is the difference. Detail people think they're there to ask questions. You're not there to ask questions. Your job is to figure out the detail of the vision. And so to ask the visionary, well, how would you do that particular? They have no idea because that's not what their wheelhouse is. Their wheelhouse is to take a blank canvas and give you something for you to fill in the blank. So that's what I mean about somehow, and I didn't have it in mind, one of the roles also has to be like the fullback that leads, that takes that first block.
Right. That frees up the visionary to do what they need to do. And for those that are not familiar with football analogies, we apologize. It's just actually
that's just the way it is.
I mean, we apologize. We don't apologize, but like it's just okay. Well, I don't want to alienate anybody. So, but I get the analogy, right? It's that person who provides interference, and you know who's actually really really good at that is like administrative executive staff. Like you can't get to the visionary unless you go through his or her secretary or an admin assistant or executive assistant, right?
I think it's also in meetings somewhere in a meeting when the person presents and like, I think we should do this. And then the very detailed people start. What about that? But like someone in there needs to be the block. And for the analogy, when you have the handoff to the running back, the fullback takes the first hit to make a hole for the running back to go through, and that's what I think is needed for that visionary to be truly effective. They can't get the constant barrage that happens about the detail and being in the minutia. That's not what their role on the team is.
No, and that this is the point to this conversation, is that everybody has a role. Like the visionary really is involved at the outset and then sort of consulted along the way.
And they go on to something else.
Yeah, they go on to something else. Like they're not the ones doing the work.
I'm just saying that their vision can't be stopped because they don't have the detail filled out. They'll never have the detailed. You have to agree that the visionary brings the vision and everybody has to figure it out, as opposed to death by 1,000 cuts because of the detail. And then like, no, you got to go get another You got to go get another vision. It doesn't work like that, or else your visionaries won't be effective on this team.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, it's entirely possible that this is what's happening, right? Because, and I believe we've talked about this at some, we're on like episode 15 at this point. This has been like years. But as soon as somebody brings up something that deviates from their own worldview, the change antibodies come out, right?
Right.
They start to fight back, and the detailed people, as you've said, that's their default, is like, how can I kill this? How can I kill this vision? I know I'm going to drown them in detail.
Yes.
And that way, it starts to get people raising questions and whether this is the right vision, and so you just like, the vision is the vision. It's this ideal sort of utopian state of what the future might look like,
right?
Or should look like,
look like.
Should look like.
Yeah.
There's no detail that, like, so when you go on a trip, and we're going to belabor this point. When you go on a trip, I don't need to know the detail of how the plane flies. I don't need to know that.
Right.
Right. I need to know that it's going to take off in Toronto and it's going to land where I'm going.
Yes. That's what you need to know. How
the things function along the way, that's for someone else to worry about.
Yeah.
That's not for me to worry about. And
Agreed.
Hopefully that is a little bit more of an inclusive example than the
yes, maybe it is
than the fullback and
yes, maybe these things, maybe it is.
Sometimes we just need to talk through things, and eventually we get to a good place.
Yeah.
Also, it's not late at night while we're recording this, so we're still pretty fresh.
We're still fresh and not beaten down and tired.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So
anything you want to add on the visionary?
No, I think we're good. What's number 3?
So I'm actually going to jump one up because it sort of makes sense. Okay. You need executioners.
Oh, you need your Bret Harts.
Right. You need executioners because they are going to take the vision and bring it to reality.
Right.
Right. So, I lost my camera here, but you can still hear me.
I can hear you, but we can't see you.
All right, let me just start my camera again. There we go. We're back. We're back.
So yes, you need the excellence of execution.
You need the excellence.
you need that to actually deliver a product.
Yeah, and so these are the folks that specialize in developing the detailed plan,
correct,
and then delivering on it. So they're the folks that they're gonna take that vision, take that future state, and almost reverse engineer what needs to happen to bring that to reality.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're going to do it. Like, they're not just going to make a plan and then say, well, I'm done.
Hey, I only make the plan.
Yeah. Like
union rules. I only make the plan.
But then you have to deliver. You have to execute on that. So you need executioners. And this is another one of those, roles that's of critical importance in a project team, because you need people that know how to get stuff done.
Absolutely.
Like, that's the game. That's the game.
And you need people to those executioners are the people that stop the analysis. Right? Analysis is good, but at some point, and you need these people to go from analysis into delivery, into shipping mentality. And that's the role that these people play, is that the value is in shipping. The value is in constant analysis. And that's what your executioner brings to your team.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, so a lot of focus there from like the product management discipline, right? Like you get paid for features, you get paid for improving experience or whatever,
for putting stuff out the door, right?
For shipping, right?
Yeah.
I'll come at this from a Six Sigma perspective, from a process perspective. The only time I will really tolerate analysis or just unnecessary checking or is at a point where a student is learning. Right now, that's not going to fly in a transformation. I'm not going to use a transformational program as a learning opportunity to do that.
Correct. Right? That's not the place to learn. Yes.
That's not the place to learn. That's the only place where it'd be like the learning is more important than the shipping. Right. So in your business as usual, you need to take the time and invest the time in training people to be able to solve problems effectively. And it's not easy. So it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Because once they are up and running, they usually start firing. Right. Now, once that happens, then you can bring them into the transformation.
Yes.
Right. Because they don't need to spend as much. Like, I remember my first project ever took me probably 9 months to get done. Looking back, I could probably do that same project in about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because you just get better.
Right.
That's where you bring that in. So, when you're learning, great. Take the time. That's what's important. But when we're talking transformation and delivery and execution is the game, that's not the time to learn. We need winners.
We need winners and
we
shippers.
Need winners and shippers.
That's right. That's what we need.
Right.
All right. So number 4 on your list.
Ooh.
What do you got?
We need on your team a leader. You need a general.
You need a leader.
You need, if I may be so bold here, Michael, you need the consigliere.
Yeah.
You need that person that can get people to act, that can bring together a team that becomes greater than the sum of their individual parts, that everyone can rally around and rally behind because they want to deliver for that person.
Right. Absolutely agree. And that leader, don't mistake that with a manager.
No.
That leader creates an environment that allows this team to thrive, but they don't do the work or make the decisions. The leader and it could be the same person as the visionary, but it could be separate. But
could be.
When they see what that vision is, they create the environment, remove the roadblocks, coach the team to get them there. But it's not the leader that gets them there. The leader just creates an environment to get people there. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be very clear about that. It's more like a great, sports coach than it is the person who's actually doing the work. That's what the leader is. That's why you need a great leader.
Right.
They clear the path for the talent to do the work.
So let's actually spell out, because I think if this isn't a future episode, it needs to be at some point. What is in your mind, what is the difference between a manager and a leader?
So I think I hit on a few things. The leader,
you did, but
right. So a leader doesn't sit there and look over your shoulder and make every decision, or everything has to. So a manager will, if I look at a manager, they will review everything you do. Mm-hmm. They will, everything that you write has to go to them. Every presentation, every decision, all those things go to a manager. Because the manager, that's how they're going to manage. Mm-hmm. A leader takes great care in finding their team and then allows that team to self-organize and make the decisions, because that leader just creates an environment for them to work within. And then the leader then clears obstacles if that team can't get the things that they need to get done. And it could be with other with other leaders in an organization. It could be with like the senior leaders. It could be with external stakeholders. That is what a leader is meant to do when you have a team that has to transform and deliver products.
So if I can provide a summation,
sure.
The leader empowers.
That's a good way of putting it.
And the manager prohibits.
Yes, I think I will say a leader. You're absolutely right.
And
they empower.
They empower, and it's, you know, they want their team to be successful, and you hit on it perfectly. They create the environment for which they can be successful.
Correct.
Right. So
that's what's important.
It is, and this is, you know, in my observation, there are way too many managers that get involved at the most senior levels just because they are where they are,
or they were next in line,
Like,
yeah,
they are not leaders. They are not leaders of men and women. They are there for themselves. And this is another sort of one of those things, right? Like, the leader knows that he or she is there for their team, and it's not the other way around. Like, they're there to support them. As you said, they clear the roadblocks, they create the environment, but they are there so that their team can be successful, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, there's nothing worse than, and this should almost be a test. Are you a leader or are you a manager? Like, you have to, you can always tell who is who by, you know, if your team does work, do you give them the opportunity to present that work, or do you take it and then say, my team did this?
Correct.
But I'm going to be the one showing it to you. Right. That it's subtle, but very sophisticated.
And very telling.
And very, very telling. Like,
a leader lets other people shine. They give other people the spotlight. They don't take the spotlight.
Yes.
And to your point, when you've done all this work, a leader fights to get you to present that work.
You know, I know we probably should move on, but I feel like I want to say one more thing on this.
Go ahead.
Because this is a conversation that I had earlier today, and it's just sort of sticking at me. The manager is generally insecure, and that's why they behave the way they do.
That's why everything has to flow through them.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's a leader actually gives away control.
Yes.
A good leader gives away control, doesn't take control.
And trusts their team. And a manager is insecure, and that insecurity drives their behavior.
Correct.
We're touching on some heady subjects here.
That's good stuff.
This is good. That was good stuff. Okay.
Is this the last one you got?
So this is the last one I got, and then I think, you know what, we're at almost a half hour, so I think we're gonna, after this one, we're gonna close out the show, and then I get to go, and then we'll come back.
Nice.
And then we'll do this one. So my last one is one that's near and dear to my heart. It's the role of the integrator.
The integrator.
Integrator.
I'm sure that's something that most people are not familiar with.
Right. So when you are engaged in a organization-wide transformational program, typically there are a lot of moving pieces across a number of different business areas. So you need to have alignment if you want to be successful. And the integrator or the integration team does that for you by looking at the organization and the program from an enterprise level to see how the puzzle fits together. A couple of years ago, I was coaching this program, these individuals as we were going through a program, and to me the problem was like clear as day, but they couldn't see it. So they had this committee that reviewed everybody's work, everybody's plan. And so, the requirements team would come in and say, here's our plan for eliciting and validating requirements. And here's our Gantt chart. And these are the resources that we're going to need. And this is our plan. And the committee would look at it and go, cool. Yep. Go. Then the process people would come in and like, okay, well, here's our plan and here's the resources and here's what we, and the committee would look at it and say, yep, makes sense. Cool. IT, the BAU people, the people like the business subject matter experts, they all came in with these individual plans. And then when they actually went to start doing the work, it was then they realized there was misalignment between their schedules,
right,
the resources. So the integrator would look at all those individual plans and say, how do these things mesh together? How do they fit together? And where don't they fit together? Because then we need to take some action. Right. I have not seen an integrator in a lot of transformations. And it could be the difference between success or failure, because you then have to waste time later on fixing a problem that could have been stopped if you just looked at how everything fit together at once.
So what's the difference between the integrator, and large companies all have this, the project management office, the PMO?
Okay.
Is that not the role of the PMO?
You're going to get me into a lot of trouble here, Mike. And I just renewed.
I didn't realize that.
Just renewed my PMI membership.
Well, then you have nothing to worry about. They'll forget. They'll forget in a year. Or they'll forget. They'll never forget.
Little sidebar here. For an 8-hour period last week, I was suspended for my PMP because I didn't pay my fee.
Did you not pay?
So I didn't pay. You know why?
Why you didn't pay?
I've now it's cleared up. Did
they put a lien on your house?
No, but they're like, your PMP has been suspended. You can no longer use your PMP credential. I mean, look, they give you, I think it's like 6 months to get back into the fold. And we're talking 8 hours. But I was like, oh my God, but I paid this. My credential renewal was not automatic. My membership renewal was. So about a month ago, I got an email that said, hey, we've completed your payment to PMI. And I thought, oh, cool.
We're good.
I'm good. And so I never went back and checked. So anyways, but you are going to get me in trouble with the project managers.
This is a yearly fee?
This is a annual fee. The credentials every 3 years, but the fee is every year.
They won't remember next April.
Probably
so
not.
Go ahead, let it fly, brother.
Also, chances are they're not listening to this anyway.
Yes, they are.
Of course they are.
Go ahead, let it fly.
So for me, the way that most PMOs function have more to do with ensuring governance and appropriate template usage. So
appropriate template usage. Fantastic.
See, let me get myself in trouble. So they're more concerned that you're going through the proper gating process, that you're getting the right approvals, that you are using the appropriate planning documents, and that you're submitting to the right committees in the right time frame. I don't know. I mean, to me, and that's a huge miss for PMOs, because they could be that integrator role that plays a very strategic role.
Right. And that's what I would have thought.
It could, right? They could do that. I've been on a mission for the last, I would say, really 6 months, but for probably prior to that, about the creation of an equivalent at the enterprise analysis level. So enterprise analysis is sort of a macro to business analysis. So business analysis looks at the project and the requirements and all that. Enterprise analysis is actually this integrator role. And so it can come out of a BA center of excellence. It can be a part of the PMO, but like you need to have this role. And I think if your PMO is not doing it, if they're not playing that strategic value role, then those with the BA skill set and that it can operate at an enterprise level are perfectly suited to do it. They just, there's not a lot of organizations that have good enterprise analysts, which is why I'm actually trying to, I've gotten a lot more vocal on that, and I'm trying to train people on how to be an enterprise analyst. More on that another episode, because I'm putting together a couple programs, but like BAs have the perfect temperament and skill set and thought process to play that role. They just need to fill in a couple gaps around strategy and leadership.
Right. Okay.
Does that answer your?
Well, I was just thinking that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure people who are listening to this episode would have asked that question. So I was thinking, people are going to go, isn't that why you have a PMO? So that good explanation and a good understanding of the difference between the two, or why. But most people would think that the PMO should just have that role because they're perfectly
and they could, right? Like
they could evolve to that away from templates.
It could evolve to that. Well, and it's you still need those. Like you can't just have the Wild West of reporting. Like you still need those pieces, but there's something missing. And so this is the reason why I've spent the last years building up these expertise in all these disciplines so that I can look at them together, much like the plans that I described earlier. I can look at them together and say, this is how they fit together. This is how they don't. And then how can you better integrate them together?
Right. Good list, man. That was a good list.
I thought so.
Very good list. I'm going to assume people are going to have lots of questions. Probably. So if you have questions, please put them in the comments, or put them in the comments on if you want us to explain anything more. Yeah. Or I'd like to hear your thoughts, and also reach out to Vince. Where can they find you, Vince?
You can get me at vincentmirabelli.com.
And you can get me at michaelmartino.ca. But I'm sure this should have generated lots of thoughts about the team that you're looking to build. And I'm pretty sure lots of people have things that, when I get to my episode, that we probably missed. But so you should let us know about that. What have you found in your travels that need to be on a team?
Yeah. And we will catch you on the next episode, Mike's list of the Business Not As Usual podcast. So
cool.
See you next episode. Bye. Welcome to.
That was a good one.
Oh, are we not going to do yours now?
No, I gotta go.
Oh,
no! I have another meeting.
Oh,
it was in between meetings.